probably should effort to make this distinction more often, but there really is a line that can be drawn between people running this team and the ones taking the field. Good morning to you. Good Tuesday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports, and this is Daily Shot of Pirates. It comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into football and or hockey, I also offer daily shots of Steelers and Penguins in the same place that you found this. Pirates and Cardinals tonight at PNC Park. That's a 6:40 p.m. first pitch with Mitch Keller taking the mound. And Mitch is one of, what's a good number for this? Or what's a good word for it? Let's say several. Mitch is one of several players who've performed at either the level expected or above. And as a result, the team is at a level that's, I don't know. I mean, it's better than last year by like one win. The offense is the same or even worse. The rest of the stuff is whatever. And the starting pitching is, of course, just gold. So overall, there's something there. I think we all can agree on that. The most cynical of cynics regarding this team or even just this season would have to concede that there's improvement in certain area, almost all of it in starting pitching, that there's a couple of players like Nick Gonzalez, who I talked about yesterday, who've been a pleasant pop-up into the equation. But there's one other thing, and that's that this team's been resilient. See, I can ride them for not having won more than 3 in a row since early May. I can ride them for not having won more than 3 in a row on any other occasion since early April. And I can point out the mathematical challenge that follows that when it comes to emerging from a really tight and really big pack of teams in the national wildcard race. However, I'd also have to do the opposite, I feel, and that's to give credit to these people, the ones who put on the actual uniform day after day, for not having lost 3 in a row in forever. I mean, this is what they do. They go into a series, they either take 2 of 3 or they lose 2 of 3, as just happened in Atlanta. Again. And there is something to be spoken for that. Anyone who spent any amount of time around this beautiful game can attest to that, but I went to an expert a couple days ago in Atlanta and asked Yasmani Grandal about this.
Yeah, it's definitely a good group of guys. We understand we're going to have ups and downs, but we need to make sure that the ups are more than the downs, and when we have those downs, we need to get out of them as fast as possible. So we've been able to do that.
Yeah, he's right. He's right. The teams that are made of the toughest stuff in baseball are the ones that just kind of find a way to make sure they never stick in a slump. And this team hasn't done that. And in referencing the starting pitching, I get it that one great way to get out of a slump is to have Mitch pitch for you, or Paul Skeens, or Jared Jones, or Bailey Falter, and they'll carry you right out of that slump. But as we've also seen, there has to be at least a little bit more that happens for those pitching performances to turn into wins. And this team's shown some of that. I thought they showed some of that Sunday in Atlanta. I really do. The way that got going, it wasn't all that encouraging. It hadn't taken on some shape of, oh yeah, this is the one that's going to avoid the sweep. Falter was struggling by his own admission, and the 4th inning was crazy hot. He wasn't feeling very comfortable. He battled through it. The offense is in a constant struggle, but getting 2 2-run homers in the same inning from O'Neal Cruz and Rowdy Tellez, that's a pick-me-up, and they all felt good about it afterwards. You know what? They didn't feel too good, and that's what comes across as someone who covers this team, who's in the clubhouse. There's never an excess. They don't get super upset even after the toughest of losses. they don't get super high or happy after some of the better wins that they've had. Yeah, you'll see Martin Perez go out there with the Gatorade shower or whatever, but that doesn't mean it's going on in the clubhouse. They'll put some music up, they'll talk, they'll go hang around Cruz's iPad. That's become like one of the new stations in there. Cruz loves to look back at stuff that happened in the game, and everybody kind of hangs around there to see what's going on. Even saw Kutch doing it the other day. And for people who want to see them get crazy upset or crazy happy or accuse the team or the manager, Derek Shelton, of not being emotional enough, it's baseball. It's not football. You don't need to rev yourself up to go out there and tear the Ravens' heads off. You need and actually want a more even-keeled approach. They've got that. I give Shelton credit for that. I've been very critical of him regarding lots of things about his job, but I think he's been very good in this area. And I also think, for only the billionth time, that it sure would be nice if the people over these guys' heads would get involved. When we come back, J1Q. This portion of Daily Shot of Pirates is brought to you by our friends at North Shore Tavern. That's directly across Federal Street from PNC Park. It's home of Steak on a Stone, an eating experience, underscoring the word experience. The steak is brought to you partially cooked on an 800-degree stone, and you do the rest. It's a ton of fun, it's a great meal, and it's a baseball atmosphere like no other in Pittsburgh. North Shore Tavern, right across Federal Street from PNC Park. Today's J1Q comes from Clark, who asks, DK, who would you say is the Pirates' best pitcher ever? I've answered this question in different forms, Clark, and at different times. Almost always identically. And that's been that they don't have one. And I know that sounds irrational, but hear me out. This franchise has been around for 143 years, going all the way back to 1882. And there isn't anywhere in that group, and I say this respectfully in regards to the likes of Babe Adams, who I feel should be in the Hall of Fame, 1906 to 1926. In addition to all of his longevity and everything else, also had one of the best walk rates in the history of the sport. Not someone that you would put at a level of a, Bob Feller, Nolan Ryan, and truly great pitchers. Vernon Law, Bob Friend, as a reliever, Elroy Face, John Candelaria, Doug Drabeck, a Cy Young winner there in Drabeck, the Pirates' most recent. But you're not going to find a Walter Big Train Johnson or a Randy Johnson, a Tom Seaver or a Justin Verlander. It's just really nuts that the Pirates have been around for so long. And by the way, won 5 World Series and have legitimately legendary, iconic players to have worn the uniform, but pitching's never really been it. Had this discussion with Garrett Cole back in his early days with the Pirates. And told him this is the first he was hearing of it. And I was presenting it to him as kind of a way to acknowledge that, look, kid, this could be you. And of course, Garrett, to his credit, did go on to have tremendous success in Houston and then in New York. So who's the best? Who's the best out of that group? I don't have an answer there. But I will say this, and I don't care how unpopular this is, because consider the source here. I'm not flying blind on this, and I'm not being caught up in the moment or whatever. I don't believe the franchise has ever had a pitcher who's as talented as Paul Skeens. And I'm not sure I'm even offering some blazing take on this. He's special. He can do things that other people can't. He can do things that other people haven't done. wearing this uniform. When he goes out to the mound, there's nothing that he doesn't take with him. Think about that for a second. Think about just his outing over the weekend in Atlanta. Didn't have his sharpest velocity, didn't have his top spin rate, walked a couple of guys in a row. And still it didn't matter. The Braves had no answer for him because he would just turn to some other pitch and get them out that way. Or to some other approach, a non-strikeout approach, and get himself a ground ball or double play. He's only made 9 starts, so I'm not being an idiot here, I swear. And I am not saying he's the best pitcher the Pirates have ever had. You know, putting in a career counts for something. Overcoming adversity, which one would presume he'll have to face at some point, counts for something more. But he's aware of all that in an extremely mature way. I will not soon forget when he brought up on his own after a spring start in Sarasota, Florida, how he felt one of the reasons that he needs to keep mixing up his arsenal and finding ways to get hitters out beyond just blowing the ball by them is, in his own words, I'm not going to have this forever. There might come a time when I'm not throwing 100. I might be throwing, 96, 97, which is still pretty good, but it's not that. And I remember in the moment just thinking to myself, what is he talking about? Is he talking about something like a decade from now? Is he thinking that far ahead? Because if you are thinking that far ahead, you're a professional athlete, and you're saying it with conviction, you know that you're not just going to be good. You're going to be something way more than good. I appreciate the question. I appreciate everybody listening to Daily Shot of Pirates. We're going to do another one of these tomorrow.